Welcome to the All Things Real Estate Podcast with our very own Josh Barker. With more than 20 years of experience and over 5,000 properties sold, Josh brings a unique perspective to the real estate market. Let's get started.
Anyway, it is July. What is the days? Is today the 14th? I think
it's the 14th.
July 14th.
Yes, it is.
So we are tomorrow is the Ides of July.
Yes, it is. That's right.
It's funny.
How do you know all that trivia? That's crazy.
How do I know? The Ides are always the 15th.
Well, I know, but you just remember it all. It's pretty impressive.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm a plethora of useless knowledge or something like that, and inability to use proper vocabulary.
Who you're talking to, I suppose.
Yeah, I'm great at parties. What's funny is you have a sheet in front of you.
I do.
And we got this great presentation. I think it was yesterday, wasn't it?
Yeah, we did.
And it was. So there's this tool that you guys have that kind of shows you, hey, look, this is the market.
Yeah.
This is appreciation. It'll go in and you'll pull up an address.
Yeah.
And it pulls all this historical data for the last 5 years and says, hey, look, this is the median home. This is the median income. This is how many renters are there. It kind of projects. And all the numbers are like, hey, look, you do not have enough inventory for Shasta and Tama County, not even close to meeting inventory needs right now, let alone what's coming.
Yeah.
Because people are graduating high school and graduating college, and people are still retiring and moving here.
Yes.
Right. So all the pressure of people are not leaving this place where we live. People are not leaving. People are coming. We have immigration. Right.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. And family formation.
Yeah, and family formation.
Yeah.
And there's not no inventory. There's incredibly low inventory, and all the projections say whatever term you'd use for. I know what to say. The demand is going up faster than the supply could possibly be replenished.
Yeah, the replenishment rate is too low.
Yeah. And so all this gloom and doom and articles written and, it's cats and dogs sleeping together and all this stuff that we're about to Armageddon. The fact is, this real estate market is, I don't know if the term healthy is what I'd say, but it's not like, your house is going to just collapse. You're just going to lose all your equity.
The fact pattern is very positive here in Shasta and Tama County.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's pretty solid throughout most of the state too. I think what we're kind of brushing on there is like, okay, well, when people talk about a housing market crash, it's like, okay, well, and we've discussed this before, but it's like, what causes that? Mm-hmm. And so what you're talking about there is that we have a report that's got a collection of a lot of different pieces of data put together. And it's interesting, I didn't tell you this, but I ran this report for Nashville, Tennessee.
Yes.
I ran it for Boise, Idaho, and I ran it for Austin, Texas. And the reason why is I wanted to see, in comparison, our market to the markets that a lot of our folks have moved to over the years. Those areas tend to be the ones we hear the most, right?
Those are big three.
Yep. And boy, is the story different. So let's dive into Shasta County first.
Okay.
And then what we'll do is I'll kind of expand and I'll talk to you about what's happening in those other markets I just mentioned.
Sounds good.
Right? So what Joey's touching on right there is we're kind of looking at like, okay, well, what has been the appreciation in the market? What's the expectation for appreciation in the future? Because if you're saying the market's going to crash, well, that would mean appreciation is going to go down next year.
Exactly.
Right? And so then we have to evaluate, okay, well, what are those factors that are going to have an impact on value? So here's one for you. Generally speaking, median home price in the county right now is $358,000, $451,000, and that's according to all the MLS data. Okay. The next thing to look at is just how much appreciation have we had in the last 5 years. It's averaged 7.6% per year, and so some of those years might have been higher than that, and the last few years
that's the
might
average
have been lower.
per year.
That's the average per year. Thank you. Yep. The projection for next year, based on this report, is 4.42%.
Okay, slowed down a tiny bit.
It slowed down a tiny bit. Headwinds of interest rates being higher.
Huge impact.
Having a huge impact. And it's likely probably the largest contributing factor that I can see. Okay?
Yeah.
Here's where it gets really fun. Household formations. Now, this is people between the ages of 27 and 35 who are not currently in a home that they're solely personally responsible for living in. So like, in other words, they're living with their parents still, or they have a roommate, or they're doing something else, right? And what the expectation is that there'll be 2,254 what they call family formations this next year.
In Shasta County.
That's correct,
Okay.
Shasta County.
Makes sense.
Of those, they're saying that up to 1,440 could, if they choose to, purchase a home.
It's a ominous number, but
Yeah.
let's keep going.
Well, and where they're getting that is they're basically saying, based on the median income, if you were to put a down payment down, this is how many people could actually buy out of that group. Okay. The actual number of homes being built in the next year is projected at 373. So you have 2,254 people that are going to, because they already exist on the planet, right? They're already here. They're saying that they're going to be transitioning into housing or rentals, one of the two, but they need to get into a house that they're not currently in on their own. And 373 are being replenished in the market right now.
Exactly.
That's a massive, what we call a delta, massive delta. In fact, we are so far behind on the amount of housing units needed that's the question that we have to ask is, well, how could a market crash if that's the case? I guess interest rates could go to 20%. So, let's go ahead and throw that one on the table. That's possible. I mean, I'm not saying it's probable, but if it did, what would the corresponding effect be? Nobody could afford a home, right?
That would be yes.
Okay. All right. So, and the other thing would be is, I suppose, if everyone at the same time decided they were just going to put their house on the market and leave the state. Okay. Because that would be another way, because you'd increase the housing supply. See, because what this report doesn't account for is that if I have a home and I'm selling it, and I'm buying a home in the same market, that's a neutral transaction. You created a piece of inventory and you took a piece of inventory.
Exactly.
Net zero, right? So what this family formation of 2,254 are speaking to is they're not currently taking that housing. They're going to be over the next year.
Got it.
Okay. And again, 373 new units coming to market.
And it correct me if I'm wrong, but it's also not taking in any immigration rate.
Oh, no.
This doesn't have anything to do with people from San Francisco or Los Angeles or Fresno or Bakersfield or San Jose saying, you know what, I'm going to sell my house for $920 and then I'm going to move somewhere like, I don't know, say around Lake Shasta.
There you go. There you go. Not even close. Yep. So now let's go over to Austin, Texas for a minute. Okay. So I look up Austin, Texas. I think it was Travis County is the county that I pulled it up in and looked it up. I can't tell you what the family formations were. I can't remember what the number was, but I can tell you is that the number of housing units that were being built exceeded by thousands. And compared
to family formations,
right? And so it showed that it's oversupplied on housing, which I think Texas has done, like the oil boom and bust and all the stuff. It seems like Texas does that a lot. But in Nashville, it was super tight. Like housing formations were very close to the replenishment rate. And so for that reason, their appreciation was projected, I think, around 1.5% or something. Austin was negative, less than 1%.
Can you short sell? Can you short a town?
I don't know, man. But if you're going to do it, I guess that's what it's doing. And then the other spot that I said that I looked at was in Boise, Idaho. Same thing. The family formation greatly exceeded the number of new housing units coming to market.
Okay, so that's still going to be a good market.
Well, no. What I'm saying is that I'm sorry, the other way around.
Flip it.
There's more homes available.
Was it a huge number, or was it like 5% type
like
thing?
10 to 15% more.
Okay, which is a considerable number.
It is still a considerable number.
Yeah, but it's probably not Austin.
Right. Yeah. And those are considered headwinds. When we have all these discussions around headwinds and tailwinds, those are headwinds.
This is a glut of supply.
Well, and this goes back to, remember, in 2007, we were in that situation. Yep. We were very similar to like Austin was.
Yes.
We had way more homes that were already built and available for purchase than we had family formations. And that's what put us out of whack, right? And that's why home values dropped so quickly, is because we had way more homes available than people that existed to live in them. And that's just not the case today. So, kind of taking this topic to a little conclusion, you have to ask yourself, what could possibly cause the market to crash? And again, interest rates going up rapidly, I agree, could do it. Not probable, but could happen. And then the second one is if everybody decided to put their homes on the market at the same time and leave town. Because if they put their homes on the market at the same time and they bought in the same market, that wouldn't change anything.
And considering that, I don't know, I think this percentage off the top of your head is the number of people that have one of these killer interest rates right now.
Yeah.
And the chance that they're going to sell their house with a 3.25% interest rate to potentially get a 7.25% interest rate. I mean, there's got to be a major pain point pushing them to do that. It's got to be.
You would think that, but I got some bad news this week, man.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I'm not happy about what I'm hearing. And I don't think it's necessarily going to be a huge group, but I've been talking to some of the local mortgage lenders who are telling me that these property owners are actually refinancing off of a 3.25%, 3.5% interest rate.
Wait, you're going to have to explain that. Say again.
There's local lenders right now that are telling me that they have borrowers who are refinancing their homes off of 3.25% and 3.5% interest rates.
Meaning they've got 3.25%, but they're going to go get a 7% interest rate on their house. What?
Credit cards. because the interest rates have gone up, some of these folks are stuck with credit card debt with higher interest rates. And so it's actually less expensive for them to finance that at 7% over 30 years than to pay whatever the rate is that I'm sure is higher than
Mini
that.
bar prices, 22.99% type thing. That is awful.
Yeah.
That hurts.
That
now I know
sucks.
why. I thought you were overacting. I was like, wow, you're really going with
Dun,
this,
dun,
this Jim
dun.
Carrey style, you know what I mean? But that hurt me to hear you say that.
Well, it hurts me too, because you think about the person that has to relinquish that really low interest rate for that reason, and it's like, man, that's a tough choice to make. It's probably not the wrong choice. I mean, if you've got to find a way to take care of it, but it's still and again, I don't know how big of a number this could turn into. But I have multiple lenders, not just one, telling me that they are doing loans like that.
Two things went through my head. Number one was how I feel when I hear that an athlete is bankrupt within 5 years of making $140 million in the NBA or something like that.
Sure.
Always like, why do they not have a financial advisor, like somebody in their life?
Don't give them all the money at once.
Yeah, like
give them a rule, like you have to wait till you're 35 or 45 or whatever. Yeah.
And the second thing that went through my head is our conversation that we were having before we started filming. Joey's not going to buy a boat. you just helped me make a choice.
Joey
No
asked
boat
me
for
before
Joey.
the video, he said, "Hey man, I'm thinking about buying a boat. What do you think?"
And Josh is a Marine sailor, so if you know Josh, you know he loves boats.
Sailing.
Yeah, loves sailing.
I love the water.
Christopher Cross style.
That's right. That's right. I like big water though. I like Shasta Lake. It's fun, right? I can go up there for a Saturday, but I like the open ocean.
I don't want anything where sharks are.
Oh, come on.
Come on. You know what? The second my butt gets in the water, I hear violins. Doom.
Oh, you're scared.
Doom. I wouldn't say. Why did you have to jump right to scared?
Because
I
it's
thought
fun.
cautious.
Well,
how about cautious?
All right, we'll go
frugal,
cautious.
pragmatic, perhaps.
Well, in case you know, I've been around a lot of sharks. I can tell you this right now. Don't back down. That's all I can say. Yeah. Be there, stand them up, look in the eye, put your hand out, and they typically go away.
You just walk up to that bear and you box his ears. You're like, you're an
Sharks
expert?
are a lot like dogs. Seriously. If you have a wild dog, you take off running, what's the dog going to do?
Oh, yeah.
Chase you down, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing with sharks. So I'm not I'm not advocating that. I'm certainly not like the shark entertainer. So, but I'm not as scared of them as I was before. I spent a lot of time sailing.
Okay.
I don't know how we digress to that, but so next thing maybe to talk about a little bit is in the commercial real estate market side.
Please.
Interesting report that came out. So the Federal Reserve did a lot of auditing on commercial banks recently. And I was a little bit nervous about that. I was like, oh man, are they really going to go in there and tighten up the credit on them even harder? What they found is that they think that they're extremely resilient. The banks are very resilient, more so than they expected, that they could take, and the number was crazy. They said they could take up to 40% valuation losses on real estate assets on the commercial paper side and still be solvent.
So as long as they weren't leveraged in crypto, they're okay.
Yeah, I guess that's probably true.
Because those are the banks that I think really ate it, where they were all leveraging crypto and they were, that VC space, right?
Yeah, and that's not what they're talking about here at all.
Yeah, no, you said real estate.
Yeah.
You said real estate assets.
Yeah, commercial real estate. And now what I did understand them to say is that they're going to ask that they keep more capital on their books. And so there's going to be a few policy changes, I think, for banks over $250 billion or so that they have in assets. They're going to be asked to keep a larger capital reserve.
That's good.
And where this ties into this conversation is that commercial real estate is still important because as you're having, as we talked about, family formation and a demand on housing, well, there's demand for more doctors and there's more dentists and there's more insurance agents, there's more lenders, there's more real estate offices, there's more county services, and you need more construction.
Makes sense.
You know what I mean? So having access to the capital to facilitate those things, it's pretty important.
My mind's. Sorry. Go ahead. No, I was gonna say when you were saying that, my mind's going through. A few years ago, you'd go around town, and I felt like you'd see some unrented commercial space. Mm-hmm. But I was thinking about this the other day because I went by a few places that were empty, and they weren't empty anymore. Yeah. And I thought, I wonder how the commercial inventory is. It doesn't seem like there's a lot. A few years ago, it felt like there was.
If you've got commercial office space right now and it's been maintained well, and it's got a decent floor plan to it that's pretty accommodating for a lot of different tenant classes, and you're in the infill areas of the city of Reading or what have you, I can speak to that for now, and it's improved. Most importantly, it's improved. Yeah, you're not going to have a lot of vacancy, and there's not a lot of vacancy.
That's a good sign.
It's a very good sign. Now there's another story though for large commercial spaces that are vacant right now because
like
now
warehouse or
well, not even warehouse. I mean, we have a lot of retail downtown that was built out with those multifamilies above it.
You know, I never go down there. That's right.
Yeah, and it's beautiful space. I mean, gosh, I couldn't imagine. It'd be wonderful to see a couple of really cool tenants go in there. But because it's not improved right now, you got to find a tenant that's going to have the capital reserves to go in there and do the improvement. Even if you partner with the landlord, there's still going to have to be some considerations. And so there's some vacant office or vacant commercial space right now that's not improved that is sitting. But I can speak to the stuff that is improved. For the most part, it's already leased out, so which is good. Yeah. It's a good sign. A couple other things that are happening right now too. The state of California is being very proactive. I think most people have heard that the state is actually pushing on counties and municipalities to allow them to split up property to add additional dwellings onto those properties. Are you familiar with that?
Well, the ADU thing and the city of Redding had they have some floor plans. They said if you'll choose these, I mean, they're trying to drum it up. They're trying to get people to do it.
Streamline the process, right? So, so we've been doing some research on that here in the office and just trying to get a feel for, okay, when we're representing our clients out there, what's that impact going to be? Because we get questions like that from buyers and sellers in the market about, what's that impact going to look like? And so when we went through the study on it, this is what I came up with, is a lot of the homes that were built since 2000, it's very unlikely that a lot of those will have the potential to have ADUs put on them. And the reason why is because most of the space was utilized. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So
makes sense.
Yeah, you're going to have a hard time converting an RV parking on the side of your house into an ADU.
Exactly.
You need a bigger lot to accommodate it. And so what that does is it has your eyes kind of shift to, okay, well then what is going to be available? And I think about like Western ranches on the east side of town, right? So those are some larger lots. They still have city services and utilities for a lot of those.
Is that Western Ranches at Alta Mesa down at that end, Rancho in that area?
Yep.
Yeah, they got some those houses are big lots.
Saratoga.
Big lots.
And some of those areas over there. And don't panic if you're watching this and you live down there and you're like, oh no. But those are the types of lots where there's city services already available. So you've got city sewer, you got city water, city electric. Not all of that down there, by the way, is on city sewer because some of it's on septic still.
Okay.
But there's a lot that is on the city services, and the lots are large enough that they can accommodate an ADU.
Yes.
And so when you guys are kind of wondering, well, where is that going to be possible? Just think about properties that were developed probably that are older than 2000, about 2000 or so. Because back then those lots were still a lot more space available on them, and I think you're going to see a lot more ADU development on those. I mean, I don't want to speak to specific neighborhoods and bring any major concern to it, but I do think that this is going to be one of multiple solutions to the housing supply. Is that you're going to see more and more people doing it?
Yeah, but that's going to be it's going to be like a drop in the bucket type thing. I mean, how many? Do you know what I mean? You saw the numbers there. We had a disparity of over 1,100, right? No. Yeah. Over 1,000.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
By the way,
by this report, 1,100.
1440. I've got to go back to my trivial knowledge.
There you go. It's right
the
there.
year of the Gutenberg Press, 1440.
How do you remember this?
Because that's just 1440. I just remember that's like the Gutenberg Press, right?
Unbelievable.
That's why when you said it, that's why that number stuck out. Anyway, but I can see that happening. But that's not, there's not like 1,000 ADUs being put in. You know what I mean?
Right.
You're talking like what, maybe 80, 90,
well,
right?
Yeah. But
it helps, but
everything helps. And there's not one solution anymore because the problem's too big. It's going to take a collection of a whole lot of different ideas and initiatives all being executed on at the same time that's going to solve it.
Can I tell you what I think is going to play a factor in?
Absolutely.
Okay, because I'm arguably a futurist. I think what we're going to have is we're going to have modular homes, and I'm not talking about like the traditional manufactured homes. I think what we're going to see is we're going to see these, like what Elon Musk was working on. I think we're going to see these modular homes that come in. Apple, Tesla, people like that are going to make these smaller homes that are just like space age.
You mean like prefab where they move them, like they develop in a factory and then move them on site and then drop them off?
Yes, but they're not like the ones that they're going to be different. They're going to be very space aged, very forward, smaller, minimalism.
I agree.
It's almost like something you'd say like,
there's a company in town. It just hasn't quite, it's getting there. But I mean, I think they're building their factory right now. They're speaking to well over 100 employees.
Really?
That they're going to bring in.
More pressure on the housing market. They're going to bring in 100 employees.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, that's going to bring in more households. So but yeah, so it's a prefab. So you have these large factories. You build a floor plan and a house basically, and then the only thing you have to do on site is to develop the site and set up the footings, and then you come and you drop this pod down on top of it. And if you're 2-story, you drop a pod down, and then you put the next pod on top of that, right? And they're already built out. They already got all the rooms and everything else on the inside, and so most of them get inspected in the factories, and so there's inspections that are taking place there, and of course there's the inspections on site just to make sure things are connecting right. I agree. I think that is likely a direction that we'll go. Here's a question: Is that more likely than the 3D modeling on site?
Oh wow, that's a great question. I'm going to say yes.
Okay,
and here's why. And I don't know what I'm talking about, but that has never stopped me in the past. The ability, it's going to be quality control in the warehouse and cost control. Yeah. So a couple of things, Elon Musk, I'm a big Elon Musk fan. I'm a fanboy. He made the statement, it went something like this, that all entrepreneurs should be working in the physical realm. Right. And he's basically saying the day of software is almost over. There was a huge, we've gone through a massive software boom.
Sure.
That's over. So getting back into manufacturing. And there's a couple other things that are pushing on that. A lot of it is, this whole thing with COVID, and we saw these intricate supply chains, how they were
just
disrupted.
Too far out.
Yeah,
too
easy
disrupted.
To disconnect. Yeah. And even with all the political climate we have, I think behind closed doors, it doesn't matter what side you're on. They're going to say we should have more manufacturing here. Sure. Why the jobs, the costs, what have you, right? So the politicians
need stuff to do.
The politicians will fight it out, but behind closed doors, they're like, hey, look, wouldn't you like your local group of people employed?
Yeah.
And do you really want to, anyway? Okay.
Yeah.
So I think you're going to see manufacturing very heavily automated. And so what's going to happen is you're going to get this incredible quality control, and you're going to get incredible features. And if you've been in a Tesla, or if you've seen like Apple's VR that's coming out, if you see, then there's rumors that Apple's going to move into manufacturing cars.
Right.
It's those same people are going to push the envelope, and I think they're going to build homes.
Yeah.
I think they're going to build. They're going to be traditionally smaller. But you never know. They might get some that are a little bit bigger. They snap together like Legos, but they're going to be incredible technology. What the right way to word this is?
Technologically advanced.
Yes, thank you so much.
It's a hard word.
It was like saying anonymous and autonomous at the same time. Anonymously autonomous. But yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think that's going to appeal to the same generation that's buying Teslas and into Apple. Is it going to appeal to the cowboy in Red Bluff? No, he's not. He's not in the target market.
It's like, thanks, but no thanks.
But these younger people are going to say, yeah, this is just, you mean I just press it and it goes? Yeah, your car just plugs in, and then the panel's on top, and and you only, well, how many square feet do I need? Maybe like a 4,500 square foot lot.
Yep. Yeah.
There you go.
Changer. Yeah.
It's a game changer.
Well, and it's so the area that then to shift this a little bit will be just on infrastructure itself. Because the city of Reading, for example, they have the sewer treatment plant facilities that are going to have to be, if you're going to do a lot of infill, those weren't designed to accommodate infill at this level. So there's going to need to be some technology and some investment in those locations too to do that. And then you have the power grid itself too. Obviously, City of Reading's power is incredible; it's very resilient. But as the demand increases on it too, there's going to be that multifaceted, sun. You're going to have solar panels and everything else. So
I haven't heard anything about that project. When Adam McIlvain was on the city council, he was really pushing two projects. One was REU having their own, being an ISP, right, internet service provider,
which I would have thought would have been awesome.
Oh, it's awesome. They had all the infrastructure, and it was
great idea.
But anyway, so that's one. The second thing, and I completely lost my space, man.
You're good, buddy.
Okay.
Well, let me go somewhere else real quick.
Please. All right, thank you. Save me.
I saved you. Let me go to another spot real quick, because I'm getting hit on this a little bit too, and it's around interest rates.
Okay.
For those listening, I don't know what the rate is at this exact moment, but I can tell you that this morning rates were averaging around 6.825.
So they went down.
They did.
They were over 7.
It was terrible, man. It's so I want to just spend a minute and just kind of talk about this interest rate thing. This is the biggest problem.
Absolutely.
Rates are by far our biggest challenge. We already have challenges with housing shortages and things like that we're playing up against. But when your people go, well, when is my house going to go up in value in a significant fashion? When rates drop. in a significant fashion. You know what I mean? So right now we're at 6.825. Last week we were in the 7s. Every time, you guys, this market hits, over 7% and then on its way to 7.5%, it's like somebody took a baseball bat and just hit the volume of home selling every day over the head, just bangs it down. And you can feel it, and I can feel it through an office. I mean, last month we pended a lot of properties, and then all of a sudden the rates went up, and like that following week, we could see a noticeable shift in demand, noticeable shift for that whole week. And then now this week, of course, it's resuming again as the interest rates drop back down under 7%. So it's one of those things where when people go, what's going to happen with the rates? It's like, well, I mean, your guess is probably as good as mine at this point. Before I was like, Fed's going to raise the rate. We'll still have pressure on the rates. But right now, the Fed is poised perhaps to raise the interest rates at least one more time. And if they do it 2 more times, and they usually raise it 0.25%, this might start to have an impact. Before I was like, well, the mortgage rates have kind of already assessed that the Fed was going to raise the discount rate. So the rates didn't change that much when they raised their discount rate. But right now, because I don't know if anybody, including the Fed, knows for sure what they're going to do, this might actually show up in the mortgage rate this time. You know what I mean? So if the rate goes up 0.25 basis point, we might see the mortgage rates go up as a result.
Winter is coming.
Yeah,
potentially.
Yeah, so
But see, that's nothing we can control.
There's nothing we can do about it. And but like Barbara Cochran says, is that how you say her name? Cochran, from the Shark Tank.
Yeah,
I saw her in a video the other day, and she says, "Hey, I'm telling you guys right now, for those of you that are waiting to buy, I was selling, not me, this is Barbara, I was selling real estate 40 years ago when interest rates were at 19-20%. And she gladly reminded us that, hey, whatever the rate is today, when that rate goes down, those prices are going to go up. And I'm like, you know what? I think Barbara's right on that one.
Oh, I think absolutely. I think the best case scenario, I always come back to segments because everything's so generalized, and and I keep coming back to the renters. And if you can afford a mortgage at this interest rate, buy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you're in the perfect spot that when interest rates do come down, you've secured the home price, refinance. And again, like we did a radio show this week and we said, a lot of people don't know this, but when you refinance, you don't have to pull the equity out.
Yeah.
You can actually refinance at, and just simply reduce your monthly mortgage rate. Right.
Yeah.
And then you're set, because the other side of that coin is when those interest rates come down, that is a heavy pressure. It's like a pressure cooker.
Yeah.
And the second, if you've ever cooked with an Instant Pot or pressure cooker and you hit that little thing and, that's what, when interest rates drop, because the other side of what you said was every time you see interest rates drop, boom, buyers jump.
Oh, you can feel it. It's almost like a pulse, like through the market, boom, and you feel it. The other thing I'd just bring up before we come to a conclusion, I think we're almost out of time. Are we almost out of time, Marcus? 3 minutes. 3 minutes? All right. So when you look at the price ranges, they're not all performing the same either.
No.
Even this example right now, what it's saying here when I said that it's expected to go up 4.42%, that's for homes that are priced closer to the median sales price.
Yeah, around 360, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like 358 or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's where that expectation
I'm bullish on anything under 400. I mean, me personally.
Oh, absolutely. And I don't think there's anybody in my office that doesn't agree with that one. I mean,
you can't replenish.
No.
You can't unless the modular homes come. And I think, although I think they're coming, I think that's years out.
Yeah.
You can't replace it.
Yeah, you can't. And then if you're in the upper end, so if you're a property that's 900,000 or above, really about 900,000 and above, it's a different story. I mean, you start to sit on 6-8 months supply of inventory. In some cases, it's even higher than that. And then as the price comes down, if you get between 700,000 and 800,000, there was about 4 units that sold last month. If you get from 6 to 7, it jumps up a lot higher than that. And then as you get down closer to the median sales price, it's moving pretty well. So when you think about appreciation in the market, just understand that, most of the time that appreciation average that you hear is likely going to represent where homes that are priced around the median sales price.
Exactly.
Yeah. So probably the last.
I want to plant a seed in your head for our next podcast.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Okay. I would love for you to get some numbers on residential multifamily. So 4 units or less, 2 to 4 units.
What would you like to have?
I'd like to see those numbers. I'd like to see how inventory, those appreciation stuff, because I got to think that they're doing pretty good.
Yeah, the cap rates aren't all that great. So when we go and research it, I'll show you this, but the cap rates
cap rates in California good, period? No, you go to Ohio if you want good cap rates.
Right, but and it's cap rates are a challenge for sure. It's I'll do that. I'll bring that in next time, and maybe I'll finish with one last thing. Is that in the rental market, if you guys are curious about it and talking to property managers about it, vacancy rate's still pretty low. I mean, obviously, a lot of family formations, not a lot of homes available for sale. People are looking at the rental market as a solution to that. And then with that, here's the deal. If you take a house that's 3-bedroom, 2-bath, built in like 50 years ago with a 2-car garage, it probably rents out for, let's say, $1,700 a month, $1,800 a month, somewhere in there, right? If it's a house, detached home. If you bought that house right now, it probably cost you $2,500. $2,600 is what it's going to cost you a month to own that home, right? And so my point is that rents are still a lot lower at the moment for that same home that you might buy. And that puts some concern in my mind about rents actually still going up. You know what I mean? It's like the rate of rent increases is slowing down, and that's because I think we're pushing up against affordability, but it's getting tighter. It's crazy. So the rental market, for you guys are wondering if it's strong. It's strong. It's still strong. It's very resilient right now.
Nice. Do I have enough time to recover from my mess up earlier?
What do you
I remember now. I remember.
How much time do we have, Marcus?
2 minutes.
2 minutes.
So one of the things I was gonna say was, I would love to see us get that project for potentially have Reading have a solar array again. I mean, that was because I think power is going to be a big issue.
Yeah.
The other thing is, I think that this is the beauty of a free marketplace. When you give those numbers and you say, well, we're going to have these issues, what I think is somebody's going to look at that and go, opportunity.
Absolutely.
And you're going to see advances in technology. You're going to see new businesses rise up. And so I think that's what you're seeing is this is a huge opportunity for people to do things like, how are we going to handle housing? And these guys are 3D printing and these guys are doing these really cool Tesla, Apple type prefab homes. I think the same thing is going to happen. It's definitely not sexy, but the same thing is going to happen with waste management.
Great point.
It's there.
It's there. Yeah, and the technology is showing up. The innovation's there. I think the desire, to solve a lot of problems. I think a lot of people are motivated by solving problems right now too, which is
I think
really
so
cool.
too.
Yeah, it's exciting.
I think right now we really focus on negativity, and I'm so guilty of this. But if you look at like all the numbers, if you listen to like a Steve Pinker, is it Pinker or Pinkerman? I can't remember. Steve Pinker, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And he's just like he has these talks and people are like, but he just runs through statistics. And it's like, man, things have never been better.
They've never been better than now.
Better.
And I would agree with that 110%. I mean, you were to go back 100 years, think about the challenges we had then. 50 years ago, think about the challenges we had then. I mean, it's, hands down, we're at the moment probably living one of the very best times you could imagine. So up to this point. So, and hopefully it's only getting better from here.
It will.
All right.
Will.
So,
thanks, Josh. I appreciate it. And I'll see you in August.
Sounds great. Look forward to it. See you guys.
If you're enjoying the All Things Real Estate podcast, please feel free to subscribe, rate, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. That helps others find the show, and we really appreciate it. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next episode.